So let's say after the phone qualification or initial consult, you decide, okay, I don't want to work with that. So how you say, look, I don't want to work with you. So you're, so how do you say that to your client? Let's stop here yeah, go to your
a date, right? You like the date doesn't go well. Like, well, what do I tell this person? Tell them very politely, maybe we're not the best fit.
It's me, it's not you, right?
Exactly. It's me, really. It's not you haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
That's so true. Well, I think there's two ways to do it. There's probably a right way and a wrong way. So the wrong way is just to say, hey, Diana, sorry, you're not the right fit for us. We don't build in this price point. We don't build in this area. Thanks, but no thanks. And because that's going to leave them upset because they're going to feel like they're ultimately rejected. The right way is to say, Diana, based on what you're telling me, there's some things that I don't feel that we could really provide for you that's going to give you a great experience and ultimately an end product. So what I would recommend is go talk to this builder, or sometimes I've even gone to people and I've said, you know what, I think that home building is really something you should consider. I think you should try to find a used home that's already built on the market that you can go buy for whatever the reasons are. Now, it might be they want to build in location and might be their price point. It might be some sort of criteria that we just can't do from a home building perspective. So I always want to, if I say no, I always want to say that we would not be able to properly serve you the way that you deserve to be served, and what you want, what's a need or important to you, is really better served by either another builder or perhaps just a completely different product, which I'm going to call a used house versus a brand new. Great question though. How do you let them down gently? And sometimes we automate this, and we'll just automatically, if somebody says I want to be in this location and it's outside of our client service area at this price point, and it's a price point we can't hit, we'll just say, hey, we recommend you talk to this builder, or we recommend you go to this home builders association and reach out to them and tell them what you're looking for and get a referral from them.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. That's very powerful and useful in the conversation. I was thinking about how can I say no? I hate you. I don't want to work with you.
Say no graciously. We have to do it graciously, because ultimately, it doesn't take much for someone to say, go on Google or Facebook and say, hey, I had a conversation with these guys. They rejected me, and they give you a 1 star, and now that affects your online reviews. There's a graceful way to do it, and I'll never leave them hanging. I guess that's the rule of thumb. So as we get into this qualifying, what I have discovered over the years is that there are really 7 areas or categories that we need to qualify a new home lead. We're going to go ahead and take a look at those right now. These categories are, based on things that I have learned myself, but also just things that other trainers or people that I've gone to over the years have said, hey, this is what you have to find out. And they're not in chronological order. So category number 1 will be location. Ultimately, if you're a home builder, you need to be able to build in that location, or you need to have access to land in that location. So that was, normally my biggest disqualifier is location. Timing is the next one. When do they want to move? Not when they want to get started, but the question I would use, Diana, is, Diana, how soon do you want to be living in and enjoying your new home? Because you always have an idea of like, hey, I'd like to be moved. I'd like to be enjoying it by such and such a time. And you might think it's a long way away, like it's a year away. I'm in no hurry. But I can work backwards from there, because now I can say, well, it takes us this long to build, this long for permitting and engineering, this long for design, this long for estimating. And so it may mean that we need to start right away, in order to hit that. So that allows me to create urgency. If I ask you the inverse of that question, Diana, when do you want to get started? The default answer that you and every other league gives, oh, I'm hurry. So it's hard for me to create urgency that way. So again, I always begin at the end in mind and move backwards. Price range. Again, have they been pre-qualified by a lender? And oftentimes when I'm asking this question, I will say, what's your budget? I'll say this much, and then I'll say, will you be paying cash or financing? So if they say we're financing, I'll say, oh, have you been able to meet with a lender to get pre-qualified? No. And then I will say, so Diana, if I were to find a home and land package and I'll exceed their budget by maybe 10 or 20%. So if I were to find out here, is that something that I should show you, or is this absolutely the highest number? Because everyone has champagne taste in a beer budget. Everyone wants the most for the least. That's just human nature. And oftentimes they will tell you a budget of what they would like to spend, but not necessarily what they're willing to spend. So we need to understand that upfront as best we can. And some people are more forthright with it. Others will keep their cards close to their vest. But again, what I found is the best examples to say, if I found something, should I show it to you? And go about 20% above whatever their price point is. So if it's $2 million, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up to about 2.4 million. If the price point is 500,000, I'm going to go up to 600,000. You know, again, so roughly that 10, 20%. Okay, what's wrong with their current situation? Again, the whole reason somebody walks into your model or calls you or it inquires on your website is simply because there's something changing in their current life, and that's different. Maybe it's a good thing, like, hey, I'm having children and our family is growing and we need a bigger home. Maybe it's a bad thing, like a divorce or somebody that's lost a spouse due to a death. Maybe it's a job change. Maybe it's downsizing because the kids left the house, but something's changing. So we need to find out what is wrong with their current situation, because I need to understand that in order to know, is this a healthy motive? Because sometimes people will come to you and they've been in their house for 3 years and they want to move again. And so you're sort of like, why is that? Well, what I found, Diana, is a lot of times like people will be having marital problems and they think that buying a new house will solve that. There's two things that I've heard over the years, which is an absolute disaster for marriage problems. I'm going to have another child, that'll help fix the problems, or let's move. We'll move and that'll make things better. No, problems travel. So it does not help. And I have been in that situation where somebody's building a home and literally they come to me and say, we're getting a divorce, where the sale falls apart if it's not a one close financing. So understand what is wrong with their what's the underlying motivation, making sure that we understand what it is that is driving them to want to make the move, and that it's a good, healthy thing. Research. Again, how long have they been considering a new home? And one of the questions we will ask is, have they visited our website? And then their hot buttons. Okay, so again, move up buyers, larger growing families are typically the best, because they're just literally bursting at the seam. Mama comes in and she's pregnant and there's 2 little ones, they're towing already, and they need a larger home. They're very motivated. Move down is not empty nesters. They're not as motivated. That's definitely a longer process of working through the emotional attachment of their current home. Some people just like brand new. Sometimes it's a better location. Maybe it's an investment. They're perceiving that it's better to buy than to rent, or they want to get into a certain area. And then ultimately, all hot buttons relate back to lifestyle. And then the 7th area is decision makers. So if I have what's called a one-legger, that I learned that from the car industry. So if one person comes in, but not the other decision maker, I need to understand that and make sure that I don't go very far into my sales process without both decision makers being present.